The mind is a powerful muscle, and like any muscle, it can be trained. In Mind Over Matter by Mackenzie Lobby writes, what it comes down to is training, or tricking, the brain to allow the body to go harder. The brain can be taught to give the body more leeway by incrementally pushing past that perceived maximal level of exertion and training. Our thoughts and actions are based on our past knowledge and information. Training your brain with helpful methods to deal with discomfort can make tasks easier. When you have to do a task you can't complete due to a mental or physical barrier, it can be very frustrating. Just as trying to find the answer to a problem you can't solve can be frustrating. Math and number-oriented people are quick to want to give values to everything and find a formula that could find the solution. And the early philosopher Pythagoras tried this. He attempted to view the universe as a number instead of a substance, so he can make everything a formula. Every outcome could be calculated by putting numbers into a calculator and hitting enter. Laws of nature could be written mathematically. The philosopher Zeno thought along similar lines. Your senses might tell you one thing, but you should not be quick to dismiss math. Parmenides hopped on this train as well. He said that you should not trust your senses. Chance is an illusion and everything is permanent. Thinking about this is disheartening. Many games and interactions are based off of chance. If everything is permanent and outcomes can be determined based on math, you are in the passenger seat. No matter how hard you run, you can't win the race, because no matter how hard you try, 2 + 2 will always be 4. The philosopher Heraclitus thought a bit differently. He disagreed and said that change was the one constant in the world and our senses should be trusted. This makes thought real. If we could trust our senses, then we could perceive the world for what it is and react to what is happening around us. This can mean that reality is skewed by perspective. We all live in the same world. However, everyone has their own ideas, and our senses can detect different information. 2 people could look at identical pictures and walk away with different meanings. There is an inherent bias that all individuals have. Different backgrounds and experiences shape our beliefs and thought. In the Copernican Revolution, Immanuel Kant describes the way in which people can take in information. He says that reality conforms to how you can perceive it. The meaning that you take away from the picture has to conform to the knowledge that we already have. This adds power to the mind and can give you psychological advantages. Endurance athletes are a prime example of the concept of mind over matter. The pain you experience can be decreased if you start the exercise with a different mindset. The philosophy of running has a lot to do with these mental aspects and knowing how to overcome the mental obstacles of a race. In the article, The Mental Tricks of Athletic Endurance, Hutchinson describes an experiment conducted in Chicago in 1961 where researchers could boost the maximum strength of weightlifting volunteers by 7.4% if an experimenter snuck up behind the subject and fired a .22 caliber starter's pistol just before the lift. It was among the first and most bizarre attempts to demonstrate that the limits we perceive as physical and absolute are often negotiable and meditated by the brain. This much more recent take on the outcome of events gives proof that the mind can have more power over matter. One of the most elite distance runners from Kenya, Eliud Kipchoge, unofficially holds the closest time to breaking 2 hours in the marathon from a race he ran in Italy, and also holds a world record for the marathon. Again, from The Mental Tricks of Athletic Endurance, Kipchoge was quoted to say, he deliberately smiled broadly every mile or so during the final stretch. When you're smiling happy, he later explained to reporters, you can trigger the mind to feel your legs. Going into obstacles with a positive mindset can very well be an underlying factor in what we would call universal truth to overcoming these mental barriers. Being happy and positive can yield optimal results because the brain can be manipulated. The question of what is real can come back into play. Early philosophers that doubted the trustworthiness of our senses would enjoy a study done on cyclists. For Mind Over Matter, an experiment is described where cyclists who switched a carbohydrate drink containing glucose disguised with an artificial sweetener during a workout were able to ride harder and longer than those who switched water disguised with an artificial sweetener. This was despite the fact that none of the participants actually swallowed either of the liquids or knew if they were switching the carbohydrate or plain water. While the outcome was not necessarily fixed, this modern study proves that while we take in sensory data that tells us we are taking a supplement that can improve performance, your mind can really just be being tricked, like the classic sugar pill experiment that looks into the placebo effect. Reality is a sandbox that everyone walks through. It has sticks and rocks in it, and areas that water has eroded, but there is also a lot of sand. Your mind is the bucket and shovel. As you go along, you will come across sections that are harder to pass than others, but you can be optimistic and have fun with it. Maybe you'll make a bridge lined with seashells over a rocky portion, or maybe you'll just walk through it and step on the sharp landscape. There will inevitably be moments in life that you wish you did not have to be in, but since you don't have anywhere else to be, you might as well make the best of every moment.